Rico, 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 Rico.
Spielberg, Enrique,
Rico,
Uncle
Rico,
Hiko.
it's gonna change your day. Rico, Rico.
You ain't paying me enough, man, to deal with that.
Yeah.
Good? All right.
What's up? Yeah.
We're live.
We got Michael LeMont, Xande in the house.
What's good? How are you? Alberto? Sei quase tudo dela e ela só sabe que eu sou bom rapaz. Eu tô andando com ela, está em Los Angeles, vou conhecendo um pouco das amigas, um pouco seu cérebro penetrando no seu mundo, trazendo um pouco dessa vibe. Será que esse flow tava marcado no meu mundo? Lembro quando perguntaram dessa tal lei da atração. Será que minha libido tá falando com os deuses ou será que é perdição? Ou será um sonho concretização que vai quebrando a hipocrisia, acelerando os sinais e borrando todas as cores de um velho mundo onde a lua pareceu irregular. Só pra pensar que ideias não terão ponto final, eu vou ouvindo cores e aguçando a visão. Sei quase tudo dela e ela só sabe que eu sou um bom rapaz. São comentários no Twitter de uma vida oculta. Eu fico só observando e rindo à toa na linha que segue o cara aqui que chama só pra relaxar e cozinhar pra ela. De repente se vê no meio dessa bagunça lendo posts mais bizarros e engraçados sobre sua própria vida. Eu virei um bom rapaz de frente pra essa indústria. Eu virei um bom rapaz. Ela me liga com saudade da minha pica depois de dançar a noite inteira em Hollywood com a namorada e chega às duas, tudo bem. Ela sabe que eu sou um bom rapaz com muita água porém. O trabalho aqui agora vai e vem. Sei quase tudo dela e ela só sabe que eu sou um bom rapaz. Sei quase tudo dela e ela só sabe que eu sou um bom rapaz.
Fire.
Hey.
That's just what he does on a daily basis. So it's always good to turn
That's
the
it.
knobs. You know what I mean?
Michael LeMont.
To engineer it.
So you're an engineer,
I didn't go to school,
producer.
but yeah, I basically just self-taught, just obsessing about it.
How old were you when you first started?
Now I would like always, when my brother wasn't home, I'd take his laptop because he had this program on his college laptop. So like when I started doing it actually on a software, like I was probably like 16, and my bro would be like, "Hey man, you're filling up my computer with all these files," because those files are big, you know.
What year was
And
that?
So this must have been like 2006.
Yeah.
So
What year was the year you made that that rap, that walkout song for me?
that must have been around
Around
that
that same time,
because
yeah.
I think I
You were- yeah.
made the song on
You remember
the program
song?
on my brother's computer.
Okay.
You remember the song? Can you rap for us?
Well, no, I couldn't. I definitely couldn't. That's
We gave him some words and he made a rap out of
That's
it.
nice.
It was cool.
yeah. I was just like at that time.
Cause you were like freestyling, you know,
Yeah,
you're
this
like
guy-
battling people, right, on the mic.
Yeah, that's what I started doing. So a lot of people, because my style is actually pretty mellow, I actually started in like the me versus you. We just make fun of each other. Like, I guess they call it like the smack DVD type of stuff. But then as I got older, I just stopped taking myself so serious, you know, because when I was coming up, I was like, I had like a passion to say what I wanted to say. And then after a while, I started to realize that it's actually more fun when you just live your life and you channel the thoughts like that you have in those moments. It's not always about talking about the moments, but it's about illustrating the emotion that you feel when you're in those moments. So sometimes a line doesn't even make sense, but it just
So how does a kid
Just
from
it.
Santa Fe, New Mexico get started?
Being from
in this
Santa Fe,
game.
first of all, number one, that's a good start.
Is
because
that
that's
a big
beautiful
scene?
place.
Is that a big scene? Santa Fe.
It's got a lot of kids that are freakishly talented, and
It's a
I
big
try
artist community, right?
absolutely, and I try to. I don't say mentor because I'm not mentoring these kids. I just try to lead them in the right direction and say things that would have helped me that I know because I remember when I was just like them, and they even have much more potential. And I just think I want to show them the right way, but at the same time, I don't want to make them me, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So because that's the beauty of Santa Fe, a place like that. I used to complain about it, but the more experience I gained, Santa Fe was a blessing to my come up as an artist, even as I'm still in it. Yeah, Santa Fe is a rare place. You don't really appreciate it sometimes, like at least I didn't, but it's cool.
For sure. I agree. I love Santa Fe.
But right now, my favorite place is BH.
Belo Horizonte, Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
You guys had a good time, huh?
Man, shout out to this guy.
Can you give a little gift for us? Sing another king.
Yeah. This was the first song that I released from my bedroom in Chicago. And it started to get started to make me feel a little confident. About to pull up in the double fudge cake with the cream cheese icing. I'll let you bring your friends even though they don't like me. Back in high school I wasn't voted most likely, but now I'm getting paid and everybody acts nice. It's crazy, young and making plays. River North Ninja with the swords on slave. Got the polo on the hat, it matched the old school tape. I was digging through a torrent, found an old school tape. It was lit. Summer '09, we were kids being kids, just young and on fire, but I wasn't worthwhile, apparently. Either that or all these girls were just scared of me, they couldn't see potential in me. And mentioning me wasn't anything that they were trying to do, so all of my days were blue, and that's why I was working through the nights you were sitting through, so I wonder why I went and got the juice. Well, I'm numb to it all, I've grown numb to it all. And I'm feeling like, so I pull up like presto, let's go, dinner on deck go. Pretty young thing, I'm at her riding on metro. I had the dead around texto, movie on the couch, wasn't trying to get fresh though. So I stayed patient, trying to find love, always looking for relations, trying to find plugs, I was booming out the basement. Kinda made us wanna pop pills in the matrix, but it ain't right though. Still pull up on sight though, cause the cash got him gas like nitro. So when you snatch, got cash and a rifle. But when I pass, I just flash like light bulbs. And I'm still my own boss, still pop tags, still spill my own sauce. Still hard-headed, so I still borrow that, yeah, cause every now and then I try to will my own cross. And that's on God.
Nice. Nice. And so you lived in Chicago
Yeah.
for how you lived from Chicago, and you went to Santa Fe for Christmas. One of these Christmases.
Uh-huh.
Started talking, and we were talking about all the brain stuff, and
Yeah.
you were telling me that you started doing like watching capoeira videos and started doing some movements with your body, and then you were able to kind of create some music and some different things out of that.
Well, that's where it all starts. And I don't call it capoeira because I'm not experienced in that at all. But the more and more I was making music, and I was just in my room alone, and I'm just making music, you know, I wake up at like 3 a.m. to record a lot. So before I knew it, I was like consistently moving, and my body started to feel good. Like nothing, I didn't have any pain. Like I would just take walks and drink vegetable smoothies, and you know what I mean? Just at that time in my life, I was like so focused because I had just come off of splitting up from a group.
You're still focused.
Of course.
You've been focused ever since I've known you.
Absolutely.
You're like 8 years old.
Yeah. And sometimes I learned that
That's
I'm
why
the hardest
Xande
on
is good
myself.
for you to take off the focus a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Go ahead, sorry.
But yeah, Chicago was a cool place. I ended up in an apartment. I shared an apartment with my sister Alexis, and it's a time in my life that I love, and I know it's a chapter that is there and it can never be again in a way. But the city, the history of the city, it's a very musical city. It kind of just changed my point of view a lot. But like I said, Santa Fe had me in the right mental to be in a place like that, you know? I didn't. It didn't seem intimidating to me at all. It actually just seemed very, very energizing. You know.
Do you think living in different places inspires you to think a different way, to create different ways, create different music different ways?
I don't really know for sure, but because who knows if I just stay in Santa Fe with my family and I continue being focused. I think that's the most important thing.
Mm.
I think a beautiful flower can grow from anywhere. Like that's like the cliche expression, but I think it does make you a little bit more kind of more confident because you've seen different things. When you're in a small city, you have a sense you have a natural thing to think that these big city people are wizards, you know what I mean? But actually when I got to big cities, I actually felt like they looked at me as a wizard being from a small town. So it's like
You're different.
But it all revolves around if you're putting in the work or not. If you're not turning the knobs, if you're not training your ear, because it's at the beginning I couldn't hear a frequency change in a sound that was taking place in the song. Now I can pick that up very fast. And
how many hours do you put in a day?
As most of the time, as many as my eyes can handle. You know, if my eyes start feeling like I don't want to be here, then the vibration isn't.
Because I know you get up early.
And yeah, I try to do like a 9 to 5 basically. You know, if my dad used to always tell me that if you're not doing it like if it's a 9 to 5 just because it's music and it's cool, if you're not applying yourself like a 9 to 5, if you wanted to start a restaurant, you'd have to do a certain things, and so it's the same. You know, it's like
your dad instilled some work ethic in you.
Yeah, he's my best friend to this day. I worked with him for 7 years in his dental company. That's what I went to college for. And man, as a kid, you don't think your dad knows everything, you know? But like the more my career has progressed, I realized he was dropping gems on me like early. Like he was saying things that even Kanye said in that new interview. He was telling me those things a long time ago. He'd be like, you have to be responsible for your lyrics because you start to stack fans and you have a church, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like the modern day church, if you ask me. So it's like if I have 40,000 people listening to my music every month, I have a group of people who subscribe to what I say. So that with that comes kind of like a responsibility. And I'm glad he always would keep that in the back of my mind, even though at times I just wanted to rap about savagery stuff and things that I was doing in my personal life. You know what I mean? You know how kids have a way of being one way with their parents and then having a life with their friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I really respect your dad a lot. He's the man.
Like I always say, like we weren't troubled kids at all. We were always good spirited kids, like my brothers. But I think my dad kept us out of a lot of trouble because he had in the back of our minds we had that grounding, you know,
fear.
Because sometimes I never thought of my brothers as like disrespectful at all, but like it's like that line in the song I like by Frank Ocean. He says, "I don't like to fight until I'm fighting." You know what I mean? So it's like one of those things where just like we all have something that we obsess about. Tim, jiu-jitsu, Lauren, weightlifting, and a bunch of things. Jiu-jitsu.
And you were a little champion too.
Yeah,
jiu-jitsu when you were younger.
Yeah, I enjoyed.
And then you went a different way.
Yeah, I just basically I was.
So you guys are all fighters. You guys
searching,
have that.
Yeah.
You have the mentality, the heart.
Yeah, and I mean we grew up in a house
Scrapping.
sharing rooms, so it's like we got into tons of fights. So it's like
I saw that pic of him together with
talking to the microphone.
I saw the pic together in Santa Fe, back of the days together with the
right. Yeah, with Hoyle Gracie, right, on the podium.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we
But
used
that
to
was
go on
all
road trips.
like a little dog.
Yeah, he's a little
Funny,
bulldog. Yeah, a little pit bull. For
This
sure.
pic.
yeah.
Yeah, he's all nice and singing, rapping. But
Henrique should show this pic in this podcast. It's funny.
yeah.
And that was all just from what you were teaching me at that time. It was like I remember thinking I went into the orientation as just like a 6th grader, I think, or something like that. And you showed me one class, And I knew when I left that place, I was like, the me that walked in here would be destroyed by even just the me walking out of here. And I'm like, that's so crazy how like knowledge, just a little bit of study,
Opens up your mind.
it even
Changes
expands your physical abilities and your attributes, because you can control yourself in different ways. So that taught me a lot, even about going into music, like that it's not just about, you know, everybody wants to be like the fighter or the rapper. It's education, and knowledge is power. My dad used to always say that. And even because I was terrible in school, bro. My teachers knew I never cared about school really, but they would always say I was respectful because
You were part of this private school, right? New Mexico. New Mexico. Was it New Mexico? Was it
Academy.
New Mexico Academy of Art Sciences,
and
Math and Sciences.
How did you get involved with that school? If you don't mind me asking.
Fernando Motello, right?
Yeah, like how did that?
The head, the head, right? He's Brazilian, and man, just on a whim, he saw an article that we had in the Santa Fe New Mexican, and he called me up, right? He called me up,
thing.
yeah, and your brothers were in that first class. Actually, me and I think Alexandre went to the school, and we did a first class in the classrooms. We moved the tables out of the way, and we showed you guys some jiu-jitsu moves. And then he had the vans, and then he started bringing you guys every week. And we started, and training. And
even though at the time,
tournaments, because they didn't have a PE program. So we were basically the PE program.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is we're still connected, right? After all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, what going to that school, what kind of influence did he have on you and your music? You had shared that with me.
He was as a headmaster of the school, he was, if you could create a headmaster in a laboratory, he's the headmaster my dad would have created. You could be in class, and I was always a jokester in class, and I was always the one being distracted and disruptive. And Dr. Maltedo was the type of guy that in a random English class, he's not even teaching it. He just bursts through the doors and make sure everybody is like they should be in his class, staring in the professor's eyes. And a lot of the times I would be, freelancing, and Valdez. And so he just taught me just being around a person with that kind of work ethic, because you're not going to go to school for that long and be that intelligent. That guy is incredibly intelligent. And you're not going to being around that presence, just kind of things rubbed off. Like he was actually a musician. He was the type of guy that would just randomly burst into singing. And so it was kind of like, even though as a kid, I sometimes was like, this guy's just always ragging on me. But at the same time, when I think back now, I'm like, I'm actually more like him than I would have ever thought. Like when I think about his personality around the school. And yeah, it was cool. The lunches there were beautiful. Catered lunches every day. You could eat as much as you wanted.
But you told me he had such a big influence on you,
and yeah, he just carried himself so with excellence.
Excellence.
Whatever he was passionate about, he did it. Like I know he was like a singer. He cut a record. It was on the wall over there. Like it looked like real record. Anything he did it with the same amount of intensity as he would do the mathematics. And so you just grow up. I grew up around my dad, and then Tim was a good older brother role model because he was about that action. You know what I mean? And I always tell people, my family is what really alley-ooped me my success, any success that I've had thus far, because when you hear like their stories, it's like I was a shoo-in, All I had to do was just plug the machine in, They gave me the machine. I just had to plug it in and play it, you know what I mean?
Xande, both you guys, can you tell me about the creative process of creating music? Both you guys have how many songs have you guys done together now?
Since we're together, maybe 7.
Yeah, at least. I'm not even sure.
You guys are in the process of creating a bunch more.
Yeah,
probably like a dozen, right?
Yeah, released we have like 7 or so, but we have, I would say
12, 15 songs.
Tons that we've wrote that we just haven't recorded just because time. But
no, it's like the process very interesting, because we We have some ideas, some fragments of ideas, just like everybody, in life, whatever. Could be a scientist, could be an entrepreneur, have idea
Jiu-jitsu artist,
to build
jiu-jitsu
something.
fighter.
Yeah, that's it. And that's the fragments of ideas, of melodies, and then we start to put it together, and try to build this energy, the music, Music is energy.
Where does it come from?
Man, you know what I'm saying? I try not to block. I try not to block, the ideas that we have, let it be. That's...
I think it's kind of like I saw in a Joe Rogan thing that they were talking about ideas and there was new science on what ideas are. The more and more deep I get into the game, I start to realize I'm not even in control, and it's what it's actually about is being centered in your desires and everything, that in your soul. I guess that's a basic term, but like whatever you apply that to mean to you, being centered, that way you could even have the mindset to even be able to make it happen. So it's like I think the more centered I get, the more ideas are rained upon me, 'cause sometimes I surprise myself sometimes, like lines that I come up with, I'm like, I didn't even think of that. That just popped into my head. Like there was no like process on it. And so I heard James Taylor say one time that the key is to not try to not accidentally strangle the process, because you want so much control of it, because it's so fun as you're creating. But the real trick is just to let it
be.
Let it happen. And so
because sometimes I feel like we have a little bit some kind of pressure just in some melodies, some I don't know, some rhythms, and then we started to talk about, and it's nice because we get to give the side, to
Each side.
to get these ideas. How
Your
can
opinion,
I say?
your take on it.
Or difference, to meet in your difference, I was
Meet in
trying
the
to
middle.
translate Portuguese in English and then bug my brain, but I want to say that from this we just take off our prejudice, let it be, and to meet in our differences, of
and sometimes we even be
style,
like
of
arguing, like no, like it's got to be
meet
like this,
each
it's got
other
to
in
be
our
like this.
difference.
But it's never personal, you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like it's kind of like from that thing. It's like if we didn't both care, we wouldn't even be.
Right.
So,
Right.
but that's like a small percentage of it. Like most of it's we're laughing. Like when we wrote Superpower, remember that when we wrote the last few lines, we were literally like laughing at what we were singing in the song. So I figure if we're laughing and dancing while we're making it, that brain pattern is going to translate to the person listening to it. And that's a big thing too. Part of the process is understanding that whatever vibrations you're having, you could even sing about happy things, but if you're not having good vibrations, the listener is going to pick up on it. And I found out about that because like upon getting almost 2 million plays, I look at the playlist that people are putting me in, the popular playlist. And at the time when I made that song, I won't be specific, but I was at a certain place in my life. And when I look at the playlist titles that I'm posted on, it's all exactly subcategories of where I was at. You know what I mean? The names of the playlists. And so that kind of like made me see like, damn, so it is about what you're doing in your everyday life and how you're living, your checks and balances.
One of the things that I found really interesting is just how the music industry has changed, right? I mean, when was it, 2006 or 7 that you started kind of working with
SoundCloud
took Tim's laptop and started making beats.
Start to
well, Magic Mike, we called him that back then, but Mike Regensburg is his name. He's a real good dude. He started recording me. He had a little recording studio.
I think I went there, yeah.
And I would even, sometimes he didn't have that quite the work ethic as I did, I'd be knocking on his window like, let's record. He lived like a couple blocks down from me. But shout out to him though. He gave me that first like taste of like, okay, this is how we record. So I just wanted to say that because
we live in an interesting time though, right? Because before you had to like really rely on the labels, right, to kind of get your music out.
We were
but
still
now
selling
you can
CDs at that time.
Right, selling CDs.
People back
school.
of the days were so worried about to
Get
have,
signed, right, by a label.
but to have the physical thing. Nowadays, people just wanna have the access streams.
Streaming,
you know what I'm saying?
right?
Yeah, that's it.
Like on Spotify or iTunes or
Yes.
all those platforms.
Yeah, and people now they are paying for the service, to have this. It's nice. And the industry started to grow again.
And see, even when
You think the music industry is more strong nowadays?
not as like a
Talk into the microphone.
Yeah.
Not as I don't think I think it's the independent artist is winning right now, and I think it's actually I mean, depending on who you ask, but I think it's harder to be perceived by the kids as you know, whether they stream it or not is whether they like you or not, you know. And I think it's harder for the kids to like you when you're on a label now, because that's like the old indoctrination, you know. That's the thing that really ripped off a lot of the most famous artists, if you think about it. How many artists can we name like that? It's like, so own your product like anything. My dad was a business owner. He taught us, own your product, sell your product, don't clock in. It's not, now if you're clocking in, get your money, save your money, and start a business. I'm not clowning on that. But my dad always said,
your dad comes up
Yeah.
over and over and over.
oh yeah, he's
I
my
know
best friend. Like,
You and your brothers, huh?
Mhm.
All you guys.
Yeah. absolutely. My
But
brothers
your-
are just little subcategories of my
is
dad. You know what I
saying
mean?
something about the music that we just have this chance to do nowadays because,
And-
because the world nowadays,
The
Because
internet-
Back of the day was so hard. You own your product, sell your product, to do everything. Now a musician can do alone,
Mhm.
everything.
And that's why I wanted to learn the engineering side, because you can put your music on the internet, but if it sounds like trash, it's not going to get popular, from a mixing side. So I was like, in my head, I was kind of arrogant, but whatever. I thought, no, my raps are dope. My songs are dope. I just need to learn the technical stuff. So I just focused on that for years. And
I mean, you're into it. Like I find it interesting that you can spend all day long, and I mean, if you didn't have to sleep, you'd probably be on it all night long as well. But you love it. You love it. And I mean, some of this, how deep it goes. You're talking about some of those algorithms, like you had the guy in Chicago, right, showing you he was like a stock. What was he?
David Blau. He was a algorithmic programmer. And he didn't really teach me technical things, but he told me things that I applied to the approach, because he said these apps are all based on algorithms, and so it made me think, like, not enter. Well, now you could easily, the average person just Googles the algorithm and then they find somebody to tell them what to do with it. He kind of put it in a perspective where I thought of like guerrilla warfare tactics on the algorithm, and that's basically the way you do to a couple million plays without even spending $1 on marketing your music. And so if I can do that
Crack
at
the
this
code.
point, then what do I need a label for? A label is just going to show me to people. And so if I can do it myself, I still own my product and I own it for the rest of my life. And nobody can tell me when to do a show, where to be. I could go see my grandpa whenever I want. I could go chill with my dad. And if I want to cancel a show, I could cancel a show if I want. So it's like, I'm not trying to tap dance I'm out here in LA, but I'm not trying to tap dance for anybody. You know what I mean? The world will find out about me when they're smart enough. That's what I've always said. You know what I mean?
And you guys, you have the work ethic, and you guys are flowing, huh, right now.
Yeah.
You guys are just, creating and creating and creating
Mhm.
every day, all day long, except for his jujitsu training and tag fit training.
Slacking. Yeah.
But I think that's a part of it for to be balanced, right? I think so.
I agree.
For the creative process and also just to stay healthy.
Absolutely.
You got to move, right? You were saying, like, you got to move, like you. you looked at the capoeira, videos and kind of copy,
Yeah.
but you just dancing and stuff with when you're creating the songs.
And it just felt like it would get my back aligned. I'm a weird science. I'm a hippie type of person. I'm a musician. So I just go by I'm an analytics guy. So I go by what has the positive effect on what I felt in my life, So when I start moving in certain ways, I could feel, things popping. And then all of a sudden, after a while, it's like, I feel good doing this. I'm almost addicted to doing this just as much as I am making music.
Connected.
And
Nice.
just don't overthink it, do whatever your body's, telling you to
Nice.
do. And thank God, and the rest, bless your food, and then you're good,
You guys have a new song, right? You're not finished yet, but West Holly.
Yeah.
He's ready. So we're gonna go.
Stop and look up in the sky. I think it's falling down on me, but it's probably only 'cause I'm high. The dam was looking like a friend's of me. When I stop and look down at the time, I know it's all a shame. So when I fly, I can't go through the time. Just pray I never land. Just know you can count on me. Come sit on me. Let's go to West Holly. I'll buy you some sushi. And it started out as just a preview. Something that was see-through. When I almost lost my mind, I dove inside the sea blue. But now you act so deep. Such a beautiful dolly. She loves Molly, marijuana, coke, and champagne. But she really only calls me when she's horny. And it seems like things are never gonna change. Just know you can call me and come sit on me. Let's go to West Holly. I'll buy you some sushi. When I start to think about lions, I don't wanna be a fool. Then it's probably only 'cause I'm high. Why you always wanna Samsung news if I start again. Keep position. Again. When I start to think about the lion, I don't wanna be your fool. Then it's probably only 'cause I'm high. Why you always wanna Samsung news? If I rule, I have to be aware. Should keep from getting jammed. And I find I can't go through the time. This prayer never land, thanks God. Just know you can call me and come sit it on me. Let's go to West Holly. I'll buy you some sushi. Just know you can call me and come sit it on me. Let's go to West Holly. I'll buy you some sushi.
Michael LeMont. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Alberto.
Thank you.
I really appreciate everything you do for me. Like, I say this, like I said when I was spazzing a couple days ago. I'm loyal. Find out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah, you should say, Alberto.
You guys are family, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Alberto is a family. That's nice.
Like,
Yeah.
entirely a blessing to my life. Your entire existence has been an absolute blessing to my life, for sure.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Michael LeMont and Xande.
Thank you.
Instagram.
Studio audience clap. Just kidding.
Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, right?
Yes. Spotify, Xande, Xande. USA people will say Xande because
Xande.
X. But how can I say in English Xande?
Xande.
Yeah,
I mean,
Xande.
that's how you say it.
Yeah, that's it.
Xande.
Because in Brazil, you say Xande, Xande, and Michael LeMont. We have some songs together. For example, Superpower. People can find us. Superpower, Xande, Michael LeMont.
Yeah.
It's an honor to the woman. Just woman, I believe your superpower. Even though you always acting like a sour, I know you more than I know me. Everything now is so clear to me if you said to me. Check it out, guys.
Hey.
Superpower, Xande, Michael
This guy's a
LeMont.
beast.
Thank you, guys.